Hello and what is up everyone, it is Hachi from the Art of Dota, and in this video I'm going to be showing you why you should be playing Chen if you're trying to gain MMR on support position right now. Now, if you've been following PPD's stream, he's been playing this hero and he says this hero is free MMR. Now, that is in the above 5k bracket. It's a very high MMR bracket, right? I'm playing Chen right now, I'm also winning a ton of games. Chen actually has a unbelievable 60% win rate right now in the 5k and up. Now, how does this apply to you, maybe a 3k or 4k player? I think that if you utilize Chen properly, even in a 3k or 4k game, of course, it's going to require some coordination as Chen is not the greatest hero in the late game. He requires you to kind of like snowball an advantage in the early game and look to force down towers, but it's pretty simple, right? You get a bunch of creeps, you tell your team to group up, and you take towers. Now, how are you going to start the game? You're going to start the game with sending your creeps in the off lane back to base. Now, what is that going to do? It's going to ruin the creep wave equilibrium for the enemy carry. Pretty much, your offlaner is just going to be last sitting under your tower, right next to your tower, and have like a free first couple waves. Now, usually what's going to happen if you send 3 creeps back, as you see here, usually you want to start with 2 melees and then the range. That's what I like, and it seems that it ends up with the creep wave in a pretty good spot. Now for the range creep, you want to be a little bit delayed on it, and we're going to keep an eye on the minimap to see where the creep wave ends up and how my Brewmaster is able to farm very safely. Now after you send the creeps back, of course, you're just going to wait for the camps to spawn. Now if you watch my previous Chen video where I talked about why Chen is back in the meta, having the ability to have your Holy Persuasion on a 70 mana cost 10-second cooldown is insane. Because now what you can do is you could actually send your creeps back to base if they get too low or if they expended all their mana. So if you get creeps like the Satyr or even the what is it called, the Harpy creep, which I think I actually get both in this game. I'm not so sure. Oh no, I think I only get the Satyr. But notice what I'm going to do now. With your first creep, you can just send it to any lane. I see my Brewmaster, as you see, he's farming very safely under the tower, and Jug is not an easiest kill in the world. Especially as I'm still level 1, we don't have any real setup, and he always just spin away. So I decided to send the first Centaur just to mess with their Tinker mid. Now, I believe I might actually feed my creep here, but what I was going for was I wanted to actually send the creep into the Tinker and then respawn a creep as it was about to die, but I'm not so sure if the creep ended up dying to him or not. But as you see here, Chen at level 1 can zone out any support in the game. Maybe 2 supports can kill you, but if it's just 1 support, you're going to win that trade as long as you have your creep with you. As you see there, Rubik has no chance. I zone him from the rune. Now you guys may ask, do you need to be a good micro player to win with Chen? And I'm going to tell you, I'm awful at micro. I'm no StarCraft 2 player. My micro, as you saw there, that was pretty bad micro as my hero was like standing around a lot as I'm trying to micro this creep to pull the creep wave back. I did this by accident. I didn't do this intentionally. And then my Brewmaster didn't get the memo, so I actually just ended up farming the whole wave, which turned out to be fine because I needed my level 2 so I could actually get my slow on. So when you do hit level 2, you will go for your slow so that you actually can have a little bit more setup. It's also a damage amp, which is great. So you'll see soon where I'm able to use it on the Rubik and then send my Satyr Blast in and do a ton of damage. You can do that to their carry as well. Chen is really strong against squishy carries, especially if you end up getting a Satyr or a Wildkin. Now, as you saw there, I ended up sending my creep back to base, and that's what you want to do, right? You usually want to start the game with 1 or 2 clarities so you have a decent mana pool to cast your Holy Persuasion and just spam it. You just grab a bunch of creeps and you just constantly harass the enemies out. As you see here, the Jug getting caught out under the tower, but unfortunately he has the spin, which allows him to barely survive. But my creep was able to be sent back to base, refill its mana pool without me having mana boots or anything, or a Bazzi or anything like that, and it's suddenly back in business, firing its Hadoukens at the enemy. And you see how much pressure is on the enemy safe lane, and it's just a combination of being able to completely secure the first wave for your offlaner by sending the creeps back, and then also having one of the strongest early game heroes in the game. It's absolutely OP if you know what you're doing and the enemies don't deal with it properly, or they have a weak safe lane hero like a Jug or most of the Agi heroes in the game that are kind of low HP, right? If they have like an axe or like a legion or something like that, they can deal with the pressure. But if it's an agi hero, most likely, especially a ranged agi hero, they're completely getting dumpstered in the lane. And you see there, I send the creep back again. Unfortunately, I don't have the mana to send it back, as I believe I got my clarity cancelled. But I think I'm just going to run the creep back to the lane. I'm also level 3, so I'm really lacking mana right now. But the ability to send your creep back, just spam its spells, send your creep back, bring it back, is the reason why Chen is so OP right now. In addition to being able to ruin the equilibrium. I talked about that a little bit in my, why Chen is back in the meta, but now in this video I want to show you how you can utilize this to play in your games to gain MMR. Now, after you completely dominate the safe lane, you can just usually leave your offlaner to be. At that point, he's way ahead in levels, and the enemy carry, if they're good, they're just going to go jungle. If they come back to the lane, continuously kill them. But usually they're going to go jungle, or they're just going to leave the lane entirely, or like TP to their offlane or something like that. So at this point is your opportunity to look to gank other lanes. With 2 creeps, with the proper micro, you actually can dive mid. But what I don't actually recommend you guys to do is just to go too crazy and then end up trying to dive and lose your creeps. It's really important that you keep your creeps alive, because the longer they stay alive, it's less time you waste actually jungling. Now, most people think Chen is a jungling hero. No. He starts out in the jungle, he can kill jungle creeps, but for the most part, you want to make the use of your creeps early on, because creeps are incredibly strong in the first 10 minutes of the game. Because how many support heroes can just tank jungle creeps? None. I can't think of a single support that can just tank jungle creeps or jungle, right? Definitely not any int supports, right? They're usually low armor, low HP, and if a creep starts hitting them, they have to run away. That means that you have absolute control over the map in the early game, and you want to do that. You want to make use of that fact. You can actually just stand on positions in map, send your creeps to lane, spam their nukes, and just be a nuisance. Don't think of Chen as a ganking hero where you need to buy smokes, you need to just constantly gank things. That is not how it works. If you see good opportunities, sure, go for those ganks. I've won games like that where it's an SF mid, and he just doesn't care anymore, and I just continuously kill him. But if enemy heroes are playing safe, the supports are waiting behind the tower and things like that, just take control of the map. So first off, you want to just hold the ground. Stand on high ground, stand on the boundary rune with 2 creeps, and no one can walk up to you. If they walk up to you, they'll take too much damage and they'll die. And then you're going to use that advantage by just pushing them back, giving your team an experience advantage to take towers. You usually want to time it with the 5-minute catapult and a 10-minute catapult. So as you saw there, 5-minute catapult came, we took their safe lane tower, and notice Jug is not even in this lane anymore. Now, what you could also do if you end up stealing the enemy catapult is you can just shove into the tier 2, and having 2 catapults hit the tower is incredibly strong. It does a ton of damage, and you usually will just be able to just take the tier 2 as well if you dominate the safe lane as they did in this game. Now, at this point, the enemy has 2 options. They're either going to go defend or they're going to let their tower go. In this game, they're going to take the option to defend. I got gone on by the Ricky there, so I'll TP out and shrine with my Storm. Unfortunately, my Brew gets left for dead, but I believe he actually turns it around and gets a kill, or maybe not, I don't remember. But, talking about what you're going to do if you didn't manage to take over the safe lane, right? You're going to look to just, again, pressure heroes and hold control on the map. Let's say they had a better safe lane hero that didn't get completely destroyed. You're going to actually just not jungle. You don't want to start AFK jungling. At some point, that's the right thing to do, because there's nothing else you can do, and you just want to get some gold. So you can buy, mech, Hamladam, or a pipe or something like that. But if you can, in the first 10 minutes, you want to put some pressure on the map. So notice, for the first 8 minutes of the game, I haven't really jungled at all. You didn't really see me sit in the jungle and just hitting creeps. I've killed some creeps here and there when there was some downtime, but for the most part, I'm just grabbing a creep and I'm going. Because that's how you want to play Chen. With the Holy Persuasion being on such a low cooldown, you really can just constantly have creeps up and just constantly fight. As long as there's jungle camps available to you, the enemies are not blocking them or anything like that, you're going to have constant access to creeps. And even if you're deciding to play aggressive, what I've also started out the game with is sometimes I don't start in the off lane. I'll send the creeps back in the off lane. I'll let my off laner do his thing, and then I'll also just straight up run into the enemy jungle, grab a creep on this camp right here, the big camp right here, and I'll just like camp mid with it. You can actually start in any lane as Chen. This game is an example where I started in the off lane. Now, I think that's the best position for where Chen can play because it actually just ruins the lane for their safe laner, but you can start in any lane. You could even go to the safe lane if your safe laner really needs help. In this game, that wasn't the case because I had a Dragonite, which is pretty self-sufficient. But there's many games where I was the 5 position Chen, technically, like in this game where I have a roaming Pudge, where I just started in the safe lane. Now, you also can start mid, but what creeps do you want if you're just laning? Now, the creeps that you want are ideally creeps that have nukes or some type of long range stun, because it's really hard to get a centaur stun. In my opinion, the centaur is the best creep if you can synergize and combo it and actually hit the stun. But for you guys, if you're just starting out in Chen trying to learn the hero, it's probably the hardest creep to use. It's definitely the hardest creep for me to use, as the stun has a pretty like foretold animation, and usually the enemies will just try to juke it. But going back to dual offlaning with Chen, I think the best combo to go with Chen right now, if you have a friend, you want to just gain some MMR, party MMR, is to dual Q Chen Sand King. It's what the pros are doing in a lot of the games right now, and it works great because with Sand King, you'll have a guaranteed stun, which will actually make the centaur creep pretty good as long as you can combo it. Now, another good combination is Tiny Chen, where Tiny could actually toss the centaur in, and then you can stun afterwards, like the Tiny Centaur combo. But Brewmaster Chen, as you saw here, works great. Brewmaster is a very strong hero. Omni Chen is really strong as well, or Legion Chen. Any hero that is really strong in lane that could shove out the waves, also has like some type of nuke or slow, is really appreciated. And with that, right, you guarantee them free level 2, and you need to tell your offlaner that. They're not always going to realize that, and sometimes I had my offlaner feed, but you tell them that you're going to send the creep back. Don't try to do any weird like pull or anything like that. You're going to guarantee that they get level 2. The creep wave is going to meet at the tower, and they just need to chill. They need to chill, they wait for the creep wave to come up, and what you also want to avoid is sapping their experience. It's really important that you don't stand anywhere near the creep wave after you sent back the creeps, so that your offlaner actually gets their level 2, gets their level 3, gets their early farm. At that point, you will just be in the jungle a little bit, or just off the map, right? You can at some point actually take experience in lane, because it's pretty important that you get level 2 as well, as Penitence is a really good setup. I was talking about skill build. This is probably one of the most popular builds right now in Chen, is just to max out the Penitence, skipping his nuke entirely. You'd rather have the extra slow. If you don't have the stuns on your team, it's really nice to have that slow. Helps you set up your own creeps to get their stuns off, their abilities off as well, and it's what most people are going for. Now, other people I've seen still go for the Test of Fate. It's actually a really good baiting ability, because if you didn't know, it actually can be used to heal yourself now. So if you cast Test of Fate on yourself, you can heal and potentially bait enemy heroes too deep. Because again, your creeps are incredibly strong in like the first 10 minutes, even 15 minutes on to the enemy supports. At some point, like the enemies will have nukes that can just take out your creeps real quickly. So the whole point of playing Chen is maximizing your impact while your creeps are still strong. And you see here, the game's pretty much over. Like, this is gonna happen in like most of your games on Chen if the enemies don't respond to you properly. You end up winning like every lane. You take the towers really early, and they kind of just give up. Sometimes they'll defend the high ground, but for the most part, if you're playing US East, they lose the early game that hard, they're done. They're out of the game. They're going to destroy their items in AFK. Well, I don't know what servers you guys play on, but talking about how you want to actually breach the high ground as Chen, if you have bad mismanagement with your creeps, make sure you have like the headdress. The headdress really helps you out, as it gives you passive regen, so you don't have to constantly worry about your creeps' health when you're like trying to push out the lanes or jungle. Now, my build personally I like is to go for Helm the Dominator or a mech first off, and then I build into a pipe red afterwards. Again, keeping up with the headdress. So you get the headdress, and then you get into the Helm of Dom, and then I'll buy another headdress, and the regen really just helps your creeps stay full HP, so they just don't get nuked down in a fight. It also is nice to have satyrs. Now, whereas what creeps you actually want, you don't really have the option, you don't have the luxury to choose your creeps. when playing Chen, again, it's all about maximizing your impact while you can. So you pretty much have to just make use of whatever creeps you can. But I'm gonna just go over the list of creeps right now. So I think the best creeps for like beginner Chen players are just the creeps that have nukes, right? Because it's pretty simple to use. You kind of just run in there. Their animations are relatively fast, and you can just go in there and nuke. Especially the satyr. The satyr, you can just triple nuke someone. I've had triple satyrs where I just completely got like a triple kill in a fight, where I like, ended up dying or something like that. The satyrs just come in, triple Hadouken the enemy, and they just all die because it does a lot of damage. The ogres are fairly good because it's a reliable stun. It also does decent amount of damage, and if you miss micro the ogres and it dies, it actually somewhat benefits you as it summons 2 ogres and then you get 2 stuns. Hell bears are pretty good as they have decent move speed. They can run in there, they get their nukes off, and it does a lot of damage there as well. Now, as for the stunning creeps, that's when you need to be a little bit better with your micro, especially if you have like a troll and centaur combination. You actually have to manage your creeps in a way where you actually can follow each other up. But if you have a slow or some type of setup on your team, like the centaur isn't that hard to use. If the enemy is like standing still, you can kind of just send the centaur in and press the stun button. Now, how good of micro do you need to actually be successful with Chen? In my opinion, not too much. With minimal micro abilities, you know what you're doing. You can click your creeps on enemy heroes, and you hold ground, and you know how to push towers. You also know how to like use the creeps to pull the aggro away so they don't meet each other. Or if catapult, you literally don't have to do anything. You just let the catapult the tower. It does a ton of damage. You're just gonna be able to take over the game. Still, you want to practice your micro. You want to work on a lobby or something like that and test out casting the creep spells, because it's not like he doesn't require any micro at all. But I can say you can get away with playing Chen without being the best micro player right now and still win games. That's how good he is. So that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gaining a lot of MMR in Chen. If you want proof, you can look at my match history. Now, I'm also playing a lot of Crystal Maiden, but Chen's a good hero, guys. If you have any interest in playing the hero, or think of learning the hero, this is the best time, because not only are you going to learn a new skill, a new micro in Dota, because I know that's a lot of things that a lot of people can't really do or they're scared of. This is the best time, because I can say even without the best micro, you can make a lot of mistakes, and Chen is so good that you're going to still end up winning most of your games, unless you're completely awful. In that case, I can't really help you there. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and leave a like down below as well if you enjoyed the video or helped you out. But I just reached 1,000 subscribers. I'd like to thank all of you. I've also been streaming on this channel and on Twitch as well, so stay tuned for that. And I really appreciate it. I'm trying to up my subscriber count. It's been a while since I had this channel, and I'm finally getting views. I'm really grateful for all of you, and I'll see you all later. It is Hachi, signing out.